Welcome to the Songwriter Connection podcast, where we look at the craft of songwriting through the eyes of the songwriter. Each week, we make a connection with a music maker, listen to their songs, and hear their stories. From Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, Dave Lenihan.
Well, on previous podcasts, we talked a little bit about the PROs, the performing rights organizations. There's BMI, ASCAP, CSAC. Those are the major ones.
Yes.
And basically what they do is they keep an eye on your songs and where they're being played, and quarterly you get a little check from them, you know.
Yeah.
In my case, you get, hundreds of dollars, maybe even two.
They collect for performance royalties.
Yes, they do. Performance royalties.
Yeah.
So, because radio is still paying a big majority of those. So, but anyway, I see this because BMI, for example, has a very exclusive club. It's called the Millionaire Club. And what that is all about, say you get a big hit and it starts to being played on the radio. And I'm talking about terrestrial radio, big radio stations in all the major cities. And think about this for a second. It would be 1 million plays for that song, okay? And that's a lot because there's only a fraction. There's so many radio stations that, one, play country music. Let's say it's country music in genre.
Right.
I don't like to talk about genres normally, but let's say it's country music. There's only, a few hundred stations playing country music. And let's say it's a big hit and it gets played like 4 or 5 times a day, sometimes more than that. It takes a lot to add up to 1 million plays. And that's a pretty nice chunk of change right there. Now, our guest today is Millionaire Club 15 times over, right at the last count. He is a huge songwriter, and we are so happy to have. He's had songs cut by Craig Morgan, Chris Young, Scotty McCreery, Joe Diffie, John Michael Montgomery, Billy Ray Cyrus. This is a really long list. Jody Messina, and this guy out of Texas that they call the King. You might have heard of George Strait. George has had 60 number one songs, I think. But the most played song in his catalog is a song called Check Yes or No, and our guest wrote that song. Danny Wells, it's good to have you here today.
Dave, it's a pleasure, man. It's great hearing your voice over this thing, man. If I had your voice and I could sing like that, good grief.
Oh, my God. Well, stop. I wish it transferred to singing. I really do.
Well, you were just saying that, I didn't think about it, but I was here 15 years before I got my first cut.
15 years.
So
wow.
Yeah, I just kept pushing at it and pushing at it. And
wow. And you came here 1980, I think I read.
Yeah.
Belmont University grad?
I went to Belmont. I'm from North Carolina and went to Oklahoma City to Christian school.
Okay.
Southwestern Christian University. And
you studied music, right?
Studied music, got my Associate of Arts degree, and I was in a group called Great Life with the Kids. We made albums 2 different years, and we go to the church camps and the churches and the schools, try to influence kids, and they'd want to come to Southwestern Christian University, and they did.
Yeah.
So that was really neat. And I got a buddy of mine, Kirk Sullivan. He actually continued in Christian music, and they have a group for him, and they were just inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
At the Dove Awards. And
big deal.
So,
huge.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
congrats.
So I did that for a couple of years, and just at the end, after I got my degree, I was walking down that top dormitory hallway for the last time, and a buddy of mine was there and said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I really don't know." And he started talking about. He said, "Well, you know what?" I said, "I'm going to keep doing music, no doubt about that." And he said, "Well, there's a school in Nashville that has a commercial music degree, because usually." A music degree is going to be to teach education for elementary education, middle school, high school band, or lead the choir. But commercial music being defined as music that's marketable for money.
Right.
And I found out it was Belmont, and I went there, and they said, if you're going to be an artist, you need to write your own songs. And I'd been doing this as a kid and taking piano lessons. I knew theory and that kind of stuff, and not the greatest player and stuff, but I understand. And so I just kept on and on, Dave, and I just
now, was it originally you wanted to be an artist, and you are? I mean, we're all
right. I did, but in those days, these days with social media, if you want to be an artist, you're an artist.
That's right.
If you want to release a single, you can just release one.
That's right.
But when you had a major label saying, yes, we're going to pass on him, or we're going to accept him. Then if they're not going to spend $1 million to make you a household name,
that's true.
Then you're not an artist. And I didn't have that ability, So I just kept on writing because I loved it.
You loved writing,
and I just said, well, I don't have to go out on the road. I can stay home. So I was trying to find the positives, but I love music. I really do, and
really,
and I love God, and I think that stuff. I believe in divine inspiration, and I've said it before. I believe in hard work and dedication and perspiration. You got to work hard. It doesn't matter. My grandfather was a farmer, and my grandmother and grandfather were church planters. They started the church in the country, and my mom, my dad, just hard-working folks, and so that's really what Nashville's about. You just got to stick with it, and just hope for an opportunity, because there's a lot of people that stayed a couple of years that I knew, or 5 years, and went home. Probably way more talented than me, Dave.
Well, even Garth Brooks, he went home.
Yeah, he did, and came back. And I know a buddy of mine, Brett James, same way. Was going to be a doctor and came back, and I just watched him last year get inducted into the Hall of Fame because he didn't quit. He came back and. So, anybody is out there listening, you want a little bit of gas in your tank, don't quit and just keep trying,
There was a movie, a songwriting movie, and I don't know, it was either the Bluebird movie or one of those ones, and they interviewed him, Brett James, and he goes, I've had 43 number one hits, which means nobody knows my name. He's right. Songwriters, they don't get the credit, You remember the days when CMT, when the video would come out, they'd always have the songwriter underneath, and I'd want to pay attention. Who wrote that song? That's a great song. Who wrote that?
Right. Yeah. Well, I tell you, NSAI fights for the rights of songwriters. There was a time.
And you were on the board for years, right? National Songwriters Association, International. We've talked about it a few times. I was a coordinator in Cincinnati. If you want to be a songwriter, I say that's a great place to start. It really is, isn't it?
Certainly is. Bart Herbison's been the executive director over there.
And now he's a movie star.
Right.
He was in Wheeler.
Right, I know that.
Yeah. But
but I remember we had to march up and down Music Row because they took the songwriters' names off of the videos.
Yeah,
when they
did?
Yeah,
no,
so we changed that and got the names back on. But that's exactly why Christopherson and some of the other folks were on the board in the beginning and started in 1967 was to make sure the songwriters' names went on the record.
They needed to be
recognized. That's
Absolutely.
A great organization for anybody that's needing to get started, and they've turned out a lot of great, successful writers.
Yeah, they really have. It's a great organization. You're around the dining room table, which is every bit as a member of this podcast. It's kind of our character, the old Duncan Fife. So would you play us a song? Maybe one of the great songs that you've written?
Absolutely, man. I tell you what, I'm going to play you a song I wrote with my friend Kim Williams. And Marty Dodson. Kim was inducted into the Hall of Fame by Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
And
recently at the Gatlinburg Hall of Fame.
And we lost him in 2016, but he was around for a long time before something happened for him. But he befriended Garth Brooks in the very beginning, and they wrote "Papa Loved Mama" and "Ain't Going Down Till the Sun Comes Up," and all of a sudden things started to happen. And Garth was somebody.
Randy Travis, right?
So. But Kim and I went up and met him for the first time, and he had a log cabin. He and his wife Phyllis on top of a hill up there.
Phyllis. Yeah.
And we drove 4 hours to get there, David. So it was late at night, about 1 o'clock, and Kim, we all said hello and met each other. And he said, "Well, Danny, you're gonna be staying up here in the log cabin, and Marty, you're gonna be staying down here, and my wife Phyllis and I stayed here. And when you boys want to get started?" And I just.
Thinking like in the morning?
Right. Yeah, I was thinking, just whenever you want to, And he said, "Okay, great. We'll just start right now. Y'all just go ahead and put your bags away." And 8 hours later, we had our first song, and Rascal Flatts put on their record. But
how about that?
I began to understand the work ethic of Kim Williams when I watched Garth induct him into the Hall of Fame. He's a hard worker, and it's just so it was a real honor for them, because I read that they had to take one of their songs off of the record to put this one on there. So it's a real honor. And those are Joe Don and Jay and Gary, just wonderful guys. But I'm going to play you this song.
Sounds great. Danny Wells, our guest, the Songwriter Connection podcast.
If I ever write the story of my life, don't be surprised if you where it begins. Girl, I'd have to dedicate every line on every page to the memories we made while you loved me. I was born the day you kissed me, and I died inside the night you left me. But I lived, oh, I lived while you loved me. I'd start with chapter 1, love innocent and young as a morning sun on a new day. And even though I know the end, I do it all again, 'cause I got a lifetime in while you loved me. I was born the day you kissed me, and I died inside the night you left me. But I lived, oh, I lived while you loved me. Oh, I was born the day you kissed me, and I died inside the night you left me. But I lived, oh, I lived, I lived while you loved me.
Well, I tell you, that's one of my favorite Rascal Flatts songs. Danny Wells, our guest on the Songwriter Connection podcast. There's so many cool chords in that song. I mean,
it's interesting. When we wrote that, Marty walked in with the idea, and Kim's a brilliant lyricist, and we all did different things. But at the time, I had these loops, because it was R&B loops. I bought this CD, 99 R&B loops for $99, and we used a little loop that was kind of a Backstreet Boys thing, you know, because that's what Rascal Flatts, that's kind of what they were doing. It was different kind of country, and but on the music side of things, I was thinking. I mean, I went to Belmont. I know chord structure and everything. So in a major key, 1, 4, 5 are major, 2, 3, 6 are minor, and the flat 7 is a whole step below the root. Anyway, I thought, I'm going to do everything backwards. I'm going to make the 1 a minor. I'm going to make, the 2 a major, make the 3 a flat 3, and the 6. But anyway, so it just created some unique chords, and it came out to really work out like that, And it's.
I love the use of the flat 7 because it just
cool
grabs your attention every time.
Yes,
And these are things as a songwriter you need to really think about.
It matters.
It does matter. It does. It's not the same old boring 1, 4, 5, 6 minor. And if you don't know the Nashville, and we've talked about this before, if you don't know the Nashville number system, it really is something else. Google it, research it.
It really is.
As a songwriter, know about it. It's the reason why these. What's really magic is, I remember the first time I went into a studio and watched a band do one of the songs. They get in there and they listen to about half of the work tape. They get into the studio and bam, play it like they've been playing it all their lives. And how are they able to do this? Because they know the Nashville number system. Right. So your 1 chord is always whatever key you're in.
Right.
And then, like you said, 1, 2, 3 are minor, 4 or 5 major. But it's so cool.
If they wrote all the letters out in the key of G and say, this guy comes in to sing the song, and he goes, well, it's just a little bit not high enough for me. I need to go a little bit. So you go to key of A. Yeah. You wouldn't want to be looking at all those letters.
Transposing it all.
Yeah. If you look at the number system, they said just go to A, then you already know what 1, 4, and it's exactly what you said. It is. It's a great
You looked at it and you did it all backwards. And that's so great.
Yes, that's pretty much what I do, Dave.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's working. And that $99 investment in the loop thing, that has really paid dividends, hasn't it? Oh my God, I can't imagine.
Yeah,
now you take a song like that, and I always like the stories behind it, and I love the how you talked about driving there and the work ethic and everything. But the song itself, you said that it came from a Humphrey Bogart. The idea came from a Humphrey Bogart.
The title did.
Okay.
The title did. We wrote a different idea, I'm sure, than what they had. We hit on the on the heart side of it.
Right. Okay.
It just didn't work. There's a side to that song that really, and sometimes I sing it that way about someone that you lost. If it's your mom or your dad, just everything. I was born today, you kissed me, and I died the night you left me. But I lived a while, while you loved me. While I had you here before you went off to heaven, and so there's another side to it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Very cool. Very nice song. Like I said, one of my favorite from Rascal Flatts.
Thanks so much, man.
Now, there was another Rascal Flatts song, which is my absolute favorite. And I remember I was working in Cincinnati radio at the time. And I remember the boss, there were two Rascal Flatts songs that the boss brought into me in my office and said, I want you to play this afternoon on your show. What do you think about them? And the first one was one that we're talking about right now, these days. And I remember I listening to the first verse and chorus. I said, Jay, that's a hit. That's a hit. Yeah, I'm definitely going to play that. Maybe twice today.
Yeah, that's cool.
Boy, it just soared right up there, didn't it? Yeah,
it did.
It was you and Jeffrey Steele and one other
Steve Robson. Yeah, I was writing for a company called Almo Irving for a while, for about 4 years, and then the next company was Sony that I wrote for. But Scott Gunter was a song plugger over at Almo. We work together. We have the same birthday, and he's a great guy. And he's hard to please, but he digs deep. He's a great song plugger. He knows songs well, and he's really working with Cody Johnson and all that stuff.
Wow,
it's coming out right now. I know Scott's got his finger on the pulse of great songs, but this particular. He asked me. He said, "Would you like to write with this international writer we have?" I said, "Yeah." So it was Steve Robson. So he brought Steve to the table, and
from England
from England.
Yeah, okay.
So Jeffrey and I worked with him on this song, and it was really special. And the company the publishing company I was writing with, we had actually the producers were Mark Bright and anyway the A&R guy was over there too, and they heard this song, and it actually went on hold for Joe DiMessina first, and then Tim McGraw and some other folks. But ultimately, when they heard it, they loved it, and when they cut it, I don't know. Sometimes when you're writing something in a room, it's just magic, and sometimes when you cut something in the studio, it's magic.
Yeah.
And Dan Huff played the guitar solo. He's a great friend of mine. We went to Beaumont together, and Daryl Franklin was the A&R guy who heard the song and pitched it to his friend Dan Huff, and it just it turned out to be something amazing. And I don't know, even when I play it now, Dan, and people hear it, I just ask them to see if you can remember where you were the first time you heard this, because sometimes songs, things that you smell, things that you see.
Oh, absolutely.
They just move you.
They really do.
Take you back, and you just remember where you were when you heard it, and it just. It heals you, and that's kind of what this song did. And it was a real pleasure to work with Jeffrey and Steve on this.
You guys nailed this song. It's just fantastic.
And Rascal Flatts and Mark Bright and Marty.
Yeah. So when you first heard that recorded version, what'd you think? You said it was magic when you wrote it. Now, when you heard the version,
it was something. It was just amazing. And that solo Dan Huff played on it.
Incredible.
It was something special. Always will be. And that was their first number one. They had 4 singles off the first CD, and none of them went all the way. They were, but this one, and the fans, you got fans. Your radio guy. And by the way, thanks for submitting my records every time you ever did, and to all the other wonderful DJs in America, because without you guys, you keep the music business in touch with the people, and the people decide in our business what works and what's not.
Well, it was a pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let's just spin this one. Play it for us. Not spin it.
All right.
Like radio days, I'd spin it.
Strum it.
Strum it. I love the stripped down versions like this.
It's good collaboration. Spin it and strum it.
Strum it. Here we go. That's what I live for. Danny Wells, our guest.
Is that you? Wow, your hair got so long. Yeah, I love it, I really do. Norma Jean, ain't that the song we'd sing in the car, driving downtown, top down, making the rounds, checking out the bands on Doheny Avenue. Well, life throws you curves, and you learn to swerve. On me, I swung and I missed, and the next thing you know, I'm reminiscing, dreaming old dreams, wishing no wishes, like you would be back again. And I wake up and teardrops, they fall down like rain, and I put on that old song we danced to, and then I head off to my job. His number has changed, punch the clock, headphone, check the phone, just in case, go to bed, dream of you, that's what I'm doing these days. Yeah, these days. Someone told me after college you ran off to Vegas, or married a rodeo cowboy. Wow, that ain't the girl I knew. On me, I've been a few places, mostly here and there, once or twice. Still sorting out life, but I'm doing alright. Yeah, it's good to see you too. Well, hey girl, you're late, and those planes, well, they don't wait. But if you ever come back around this sleepy old town, promise me you'll stop in to see an old friend, and until then, now wake up, the teardrops, they fall down like rain, and I put on that old song we danced to, and then I head off to my job. His number has changed, punch the clock, head for home, check the phone, just in case, go to bed, dream of you, that's what I'm doing these days. Oh, well, now wake up and teardrops that fall down like rain, and I put on that old song we danced to, and then I head off to my job. It's not much has changed, punch the clock, head for home, check the phone, just in case, go to bed, dream of you. That's what I'm doing these days. That's what I'm doing these days.
Don't you love to hear this songwriter do the song? It's just such a thrill. Danny Wells.
Your room sounds great, man. I could hear the echoing coming off of it. That's so cool. It's a great room.
Lenahan writer's room,
Yes,
office, radio studio, and podcast studio.
It was awesome hanging with you, brother.
Yeah, man. Same here. We talked about unusual chord progressions and things in the last segment. Now I want to talk about cool rhymes. I mean, that song is full of some really cool rhymes, and the whole thing is like a conversation too. It's just so conversational. But like, what really grabbed me, I think, first hearing that song was, first of all, Doheny Avenue. I had to look at where's that at. I've got to find where are the bands.
It's really Doheny Drive. It's off of Sunset in California. It's real close to where all the Stones, the Whiskey A Go Go, the Troubadour. But
I didn't know until I looked it up.
Jeffrey Steele's California, guys. It's Jeffrey's brilliance.
It's Jeffrey.
But it was in the real world. It's Doheny Drive.
Doheny Drive. Doheny Avenue. Get the right. But you know what, Ryan, really got me. Really, the first one that I was hooked when I swung and I missed. Now I'm reminiscing. Who would have thought? You know, I mean, it's so cool how that rhyme, you know, that rhymes.
Yeah, yes, Jeffrey Steele.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, man.
We used to do this show.
Great writer, a great buddy.
We used to do the show in Cincinnati, and it started out as a little cable TV show. We called it the Nashville Songwriter Connection. We used to bring a lot of you guys up for our songwriter festivals and things, and for our NSAI seminars and things. And Jeff would always come up and was on the show a couple of times and played that. So yeah, we got into his genius, and you know, today we're getting into your mind.
That's cool, man. So, it's a real honor to be here with you.
Absolutely, good to have you here. You know, ran into you not too long ago at the Songwriter Festival in Gatlinburg, and I can tell you that was my first Gatlinburg Songwriter Fest, and I had a blast. Danny, I never want to miss that ever again.
Yeah, it really, really was cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was something else, man. And it was, we got to play a show at the top of the mountain.
We did, and we looked over the side. We had, you know, there's a picture that captured all that looking down, and it's really awesome.
And it's really easy if you look at that picture, and I had it on my Facebook profile for a while. You know which guy there is afraid of heights. It's the guy that had his hand way away from, it was standing out in front of all you guys because I ain't going to get close to that rail. And the stage backed right up against the rail in that drop off, but it was beautiful.
It was awesome.
And this is I've never been comfortable with heights. I'm a short guy. And I even lived on a billboard for a week doing a radio promotion. I don't know how I got through that.
I've heard of some of those DJs. You're a serious one.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah. But and so, and if you're not familiar with Gatlinburg, there's a chair, it's just like a ski lift. It takes you up to the top of this mountain,
right,
and that's how people get there. But you, the artist,
we had to drive up that hill. Oh,
and there's no guardrails.
Oh no,
and it snakes around, and I'm a nervous wreck. By the time we get up there, I got a splitting stress headache, and we get up there, and oh my, the stage is right up.
You don't want to lean over too far. But but it was such a pleasure to play with you. Yeah,
and it made me feel
on
so
Instagram.
You know,
man, man, I love your stuff. You know, especially that song about baseball. You know, Louisville Slugger. Man, what a great song! When I heard that, I want to hear that again. I requested it.
You did,
because you'd already played it one time. But
and thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm on social media. You find me at Danny Wells Official.
Please do. Check it out.
In Instagram and on Facebook. So
please do that.
Follow me.
Send a little note.
Please.
Listen to you on the Songwriter Connection podcast. Yeah. You also brought Sherry with you. Sherry Cranfield, who's with us and met you there at the Gatlinburg Fest too. So good to see your pretty face again. Good to have you here. Yeah.
Yeah, she helps me with my social media and a lot of things. Sherry Cranford is something. She spent a lot of time, about 25 or 30 years, with Alan Jackson and Brooks and Dunn, and she showed me pictures of her and Olivia Newton-John, and just she's worked with the best of them.
Oh my God! Oh yeah! Oh yes, you have. That's pretty amazing. Yeah. Well, good. It's good to have you here around the dining room table as well. Yeah. Don't have you wait. But I hear you. Danny Wells is our guest. We're going to take a little break, but we'll come back here on the Songwriter Connection podcast for more. So don't go away.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection, connecting with music makers and hearing their songs and stories. Now back to the show with your host, Dave Linehan.
Very much a pleasure to have Danny Wells, our guest, big hit songwriter, and sitting here at the dining room table with his Martin guitar, playing some of these big hits that he's written. Danny, how did it all start for you? But did you always have a thing for music?
I did, man. I just think that I don't know. I don't mean to talk Bible stuff, but I think every one of us has something inside to give. Mm-hmm. You know, whether you're a banker or whether you're an architect or a designer or, you know, someone that talks to people to help them figure out what's going on in the world when they're going through troubled times. Mm-hmm. But in the Bible, when they were building the temple, you know, God said, hey, we'll find these women, they work well with spices and scents, and find these men, they work well with wood. And, you know, so I just always have just believed that. And I think that people, you know, as you live, you find out, people will tell you, well, you're good at this, you could do this, and that was kind of my talent. My grandmother played piano, but no one really was, I didn't come from a musical talented family. I just did it
Yeah.
because I remember Dave in the church. My mom told me the preacher got up and he asked, "Has anybody got a song they want to sing?" And I raised my hand at a young age, and I said, "I do." So he brought me to the front. I got in the podium. I said, "Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love."
And how old were you? You were like
probably about 7 or something, maybe even less. I don't know.
Wow.
But I just always have loved it, and
Wow.
started taking piano in the 2nd grade. And I think when I was 13, my mother got me a Sears and Roebuck guitar.
Wow.
It was a silver tone.
I was going to ask if it was an old silver tone.
Silver tone, and she
Wow.
put on the payment plan. That's what Sears and Roebuck was about, you know.
That's
so,
right. Wow.
And I would sit in my room with my headphones on. So this is kind of reminiscent. And I would listen to Loretta Lynn and Conway Twitty sing Mississippi woman, Louisiana woman, Mississippi man. We get together every time we can. So I listened to Hank Williams, you know, and Jim Reeves, and
Wow. Classics.
classic stuff, you know, and our brain's a computer, so we're not going to write anything that hadn't been written. Just write it a little bit different way, I think, you know.
And there's a good point. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about next. I read a little bit about when you went to the second publishing company, how you really learned that the key is the idea and how to develop that idea.
Yeah, David Conrad really helped me a lot with that, you know. We met 4 times before he signed me, and there were some other... At that company, so we had John Anderson writing at the company, Emmylou Hayes, not Emmylou Hayes, Emmylou Harris. Let's get that right.
We're going to get to Emmylou Hayes
we'll get to her in a minute.
We'll get to her. Yeah.
You're good. Don't get ahead of herself, right? And then Marty Stewart was there.
Oh, my.
And you know, Craig Wiseman, Tom Schuyler.
Craig Wiseman.
Kent Robbins. He wrote Every Light in the House is On. Just some great writers. But David Conrad allowed me to be a part of that wonderful group. Ray Del Scobie was over there, and Bobby Reimer on the plugging side, as well as Scott Gunner. It was a real honor, and I just worked hard and listened. You know, I'm a big football fan, and I look at all the videos just like you do, and they listen to their coaching and other people, and they just learn. You learn from the people that are older. When you're wise, you just shut up and listen, and that's what I did.
That is so true. Yeah,
you know, I didn't, and so it was a real pleasure to be over there. And
so, do you think it's all about the idea then? Talk about the idea.
I can talk about. I don't think it's all about the idea. It's like a lot of people say. Well, you make it in the music business, you know, when you meet that right person. Really, I think it's when you have the right song and when you meet the right person, and it all has to happen at the right time.
Chemistry.
It's what, it's all of it.
Yeah.
And I think that as far as a song goes, like ideas they're very important. They really, really are. Because that's what's going to determine the lyric, you know, and then, you know, the chord structure, and then the melody, and then the groove, you know. Some songs, you know, I've seen signs on the wall that said, "I don't listen to music, I feel music," you know. And sometimes you just feel they just make you move.
Right.
And but boy, Dave, when you can get all of that stuff going at the same time, and our objective is really to move people, to make them feel something.
Right.
If it's to laugh, or to hurt, to heal, or to move you inside in whatever way a song does. It can do when it does all of it. I think about that song that Blake did, "The House That Built Me." You know, that they wrote. I think Miranda heard it first and then passed it on to him. But Tom Douglas and anyway, that song is amazing because we've all grown up in a house. You know, we move away and the house is still there, and you think about the house that built. The way it's written, those lyrics when they're like that, and I think
usually you build a house, but that was a house that built
exactly.
Me. Good twist. What a great idea.
Personification. The house does the But you know, always. What you're saying is the lyrics in country music mattered. I think a lot of times that people gravitated in America to music that where the lyrics were about this country. That's what I see country music as being. It's about, the lives of the people that live in this country. They would, because rock and roll might have had too loud, or other things would have been too fast. You couldn't understand it. But country music, if it was Willie Nelson or Glenn Campbell, those songs,
and that touch of Americana.
And you could hear the lyrics.
Yeah,
and they really told a story.
They always did.
And
yeah, absolutely. It's all important stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really is. Did you ever come at a song where maybe you had a few different lines that you started it, but not a real idea of where it was going, and then wrote to that idea? I know a lot of times we come up with an idea and we write to that, but does it happen the other way around? You start writing, you get a great verse, and you go, where am I heading?
It does. It happened. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you, I don't really know if you really know this, but my friend Dana Hunt came. We met and we went and wrote the third floor of the ASCAP building in Nashville, one of those PROs you're talking about.
I've written it.
Yeah, room 301. And she brought in these words on a piece of paper, first time we ever met. Cut off blue jeans and an old tire swing. I remember well, we carved our names in a Georgia pine, then we underlined forever.
Great image.
It got us in the mood. We just talked about it, and it got us in the mood to write about young love. So we did. We had a little guitar riff, and the second day we got together, we had a little line in the first verse, and she said, "Why don't we put that line in the chorus?" So we did, that's where the idea came from. We didn't have it in the beginning, and
I know where you're going here.
So
this is great.
So then we made a little demo of it, and the cassette tape, her song plugger, took it over to Irv Woolsey's offices and dropped it in a box, and George Strait heard it. And he liked the song, so he needed to get some executive approval from his little boy when he got home. And so he took that cassette that we made, and he put it in the player one morning, taking Bubba to school, and when Bubba was in elementary school. And he said, "Son, I want you to tell me what you think of this song." So he played it, and Bubba had a little attitude like kids can when they're young, and he had his arms crossed. He said, "Dad, I didn't want to like it, but that's a cool song."
I didn't want to like it, but it's a cool song.
So I'd been in town 15 years. That was really my first cut. And
wow.
So Dana and I were really happy, and so I always like to say, "Thank you, Lord." Thank you, George, and thank you, Bubba.
This song was CMA and Academy of Country Music Song of the Year.
Actually,
Video of the Year.
Actually, Single of the Year.
Single of the Year.
Yep.
Okay, Single of the Year, which is the songwriter.
Goes to the producer, actually.
Oh, okay.
But we wrote it.
That's awesome. That's incredible. Danny Wells.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you know this song, so go ahead and play it. Folks, you know it at home or in your car, wherever you're listening, you know this song.
It started way back in third grade. I used to sit beside Emmylou Hayes, a pink dress, a matching bow, and a ponytail. She kissed me on the school bus and told me not to tell. Next day I chased her around the playground, across the monkey bars to the merry-go-round. Then Emmylou got called passing me a note. Before the teacher took it, I read what she wrote. "Do you love me? Do you want to be my friend? And if you do, well then don't be afraid to take me by the hand. If you want to, I think this is how love goes. Check yes or no." Now we're grown up and she's my wife. Still like two cats with stars in our eyes. Ain't much changed, I still chase Emmylou up and down the hall, around the bed in our room. Last night I took her out in a white limousine. 20 years together, she still gets to me. Can't believe that it's been that long ago.
Now, to this day, that is still the most played George Strait hit of all of his 60 number ones on the radio. It was number one for 4 straight weeks, right? Yeah.
It was.
Incredible. How many?
I was talking today, Daryl Singletary.
Daryl Singletary, sure.
He had that song, I Let Her Lie, Tim Johnson. We lost both those guys,
yes,
but they were my buddies. But they bumped up against it at number 2 for 4 weeks in a row.
Wow.
But that deserved to be a number 1 song. That was amazing. But we stayed up there. But as long as I waited to get there, I was happy to be around. So thank you, George. Thank you, MCA. And Tony Brown made a great record.
Yeah, he sure did. Now, let's just get into nuts and bolts here. You said you wrote up there at the ASCAP building, 3rd floor, with Dana Hunt. How many sessions did you do that in one session?
2 sessions.
2 sessions. Now, what I had heard at one point that wasn't the original title of the song, right?
No, the original way we had the hook was I think this must be what they call love.
Wow.
And then Dana said, "Why don't we move that check yes or no line to the chorus?" So that's what we did. The second day we got together and we didn't know each other. We just that's why I say it's got a lot to do with the man upstairs. We had, I'd been there 15 years. Dana had been there I think 1 year, maybe in the second or something. But it mattered with the plugger, taking over there at the right time and George hearing it at the right time. It's just the right thing. You don't know. You just have to keep trying. But the story, we cut it over to a guy named Bill McDermott's place called the Dog Den. It was at his house. Mm-hmm. And
cut it at his house. Wow.
Yeah, he had a studio there and everything. And oh my, just the way thing. There's a guy named Martin O'Cohen that played the piano lick, and they copped the lick on the record just like that. And Allison Prestwood played the bass on the demo, and they used her licks on there a lot. And then Tony Brown told me a guy named Chubba mixed it at the time. I'd never had to.
The story has a Chubba and a Bubba.
I never thought of that, but I think he might have been Australian. I'm not sure, but Tony said, they were saying he was mixing things a little bit different. Huh. So he said I took a chance on him and it turned out great. And I believe the keyboard player Randy, man, I can't remember. But when I met him one time at the Longhorn, he told me, he said, my other claim to fame is I did the lick in Old Time Rock and Roll for Bob Seger song. Boom, 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 boom.
No kidding.
His name's Randy McCormick.
But
he told me that they did that lick on the demo. So when they went to make the record for Old Time Rock and Roll, they just used that original lick and stuck it over there.
Wow.
But he told me,
cool.
He said, man, I played check yesterday. I played keyboards on your song. I said, man, thank you, because they didn't put the musicians' names on the box set. Which, by the way, I didn't tell you that part.
Tell me that part.
A box set is usually a compilation of an artist's best songs.
Yeah.
So when MCA decided to do that, MCA Records for George Strait, they did 4 CDs. It came out the box set. And,
60 number ones, right?
72 songs. And actually, they might not all been number ones, but they were hits.
Right. Okay.
So I thought, well, we got a good shot of getting on here. But it turns out 69 of them had been pre-recorded. There were only 3 new songs out. And one new single was called, I don't know. I don't know she still loves me, but I don't think she likes me anymore. I think that's Donnie Keys, and I can't remember the other writer on that. But and the other song was "Fly Me to the Moon." He did that with Frank Sinatra, and Frank didn't put it on his record, so George loved it.
Put it on his.
So he called him Francis on there. Francis. I think so. Of course. But he recorded that on there, and the other song was Check Yes or No. So
wow, how about that?
So it was really.
It's just like 3 remaining songs, and you got it. And I'll tell you, such validation after 15 years of really hard work, huh?
Yes, and I'm glad, George really, he heard it and he liked it. And I'm thankful for him doing that, because he certainly changed my life and pulled me into the music business.
He sure did. Yeah, how about that? The thing that's really interesting, we talked about the nuts and the bolts just a little bit ago, has, you started out and you were writing to, I think that's how love, that's what they call love, right? And it's funny to me how which is a great line, that became the line before the hook, which is also a very important line in any song to set up that hook.
I think this is how love goes.
Yeah, I think how the love goes.
Because when you're young like that, that's kind of what you would say, right?
And everybody can identify that. When you're back in grade school, you pass on the notes, check yes or no.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made it such a big hit.
The real truth of that story, I don't know if I've ever told this, but I went to elementary school. I went out in the country to a place, a school called Orion Springs in North Carolina, and we'd have buses lined up. So at the end, this bus would go, you have to go way out and get in front of the next one. And then the next one is the last day of school. But there was this girl named Shelby Jean Edmondson. And I went over and I kissed her on the cheek, and I ran back, got on my seat on the bus. So really, no one ever said that, but that's the way we wrote it.
Wow.
She kissed me on the school bus, told me not to tell, because that'd be
that image.
Yeah,
was there.
Little boys and little girls falling in love, and but we did at Manning School in North Carolina, and there was the monkey bars going to the merry-go-round, and little Melissa, I don't know her last name, but she ran around. So I remember chasing her. But
take these images
that's a lot
that
of
you
time,
have, folks. There's songs in there. Think back. Think about what you know, what you've experienced. There's songs in there, right?
Oh yeah, man. There's something.
Well, I'm hoping you've got at least one more in that Martin guitar that you can share with us before we go.
Okay. Let's see. Which one do y'all?
So many hits to choose from, Sherry.
Do you want me to do Couldn't Last a Moment, or do you want me to
I love that song too, Colin Raye song. And
or A Little Bit of Life from Craig Morgan.
Let's do them both. I feel like doing them both.
Yeah, whatever you
I don't like to choose.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the story over there at Elmo Irving. They called me in. I signed a 1-year deal as songwriters. We signed songwriter deals,
right.
And so I signed a 1-year deal with 3 options. So they'd keep me for 3 more. It's kind of like a pro football player.
Okay, yeah.
You just sign a contract, and so it was 6 months into my first year, and I had my check yes or no right on the back of my license plate. But they called me in. They said, Danny, we need to take you out and have a little bite to eat and talk to you. So I said, that's great. So Scott, we have the same birthday. We went out and talked that day. And he said, Danny, everybody likes you. You're a nice guy and everything, but your songs, they're just not cutting it. So if you don't step things up, we're not going to renew your option. So if they don't renew the first option, they're not going to do the second or third. I'm done after 1 year.
Yeah.
And we're self-employed, so we don't write for somebody else. Whatever money they give us, we pay it back.
Right. Draw.
Yeah. So there in every publishing company at the time, things have changed now, but we've always had 8-track tapes and cassette tapes, and so they call it the tape copy room.
Right.
And people would log administration-wise, find out who the songwriters are, what the names of the publishing companies are, what are the splits, or is it 25% a piece, how it all splits up, and have that logged in the administration side of it. And then there's the side to saying Danny Wells wrote this song, he wrote it with this guy, and knowing what kind of song it was, so they could pitch it to give that song, the tape copy guy could have it logged and organized, so that when if they're upstairs, the song pluggers want to pitch a song about a boy and a girl falling in love, they can go down there and find it. So I was talking to a guy down there, Daryl Franklin, and I said, what do you think about the songs that I've been writing? Because he was the tape copy guy. He said, I think they sound good. I said, well, they don't upstairs, and I'm going to lose my job if I don't change something. He said, well, I was talking to a producer the other day, and he said, that the next phase coming through Nashville is like the Backstreet Boys. And I said, whoa. I mean, I grew up Merle Haggard, I said Johnny Cash, all that stuff. And Johnny Horton, in 1814, he took a little trip down with Colonel Jackson to the mighty Mississippi.
Jackson, which is Jackson. Andrew Jackson.
Just right around the corner.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did what any young boy who wanted to keep his songwriting job would do. I went out and bought a Backstreet Boys CD.
Did you?
And I listened to it, and I realized, musically speaking, the rhythm, the beat was Motown. It's just Detroit. It's R&B. It's rhythm and blues.
Wow.
And so I went out and bought a drum machine, and we...
That CD with the grooves on it.
Yeah, and this little beat was playing on this one line.
Okay.
I'm beating on the back of my guitar. But anyway, this is Jeffrey Steele and I wrote this. We had that going in the background, and we wrote this song because, write love songs. Sometimes guys think when you fall in love, and you always think the grass is greener on the other side, and that's what this song's kind of about. And then you realize that you're happy where you are, and you apologize, and you want her back, and so that's what's. Somebody's falling in love every day, and somebody's falling out, and hopefully you can fix it. But that's what this song's about. It's called "Couldn't Last a Moment," and
it's a great song.
And Dan Huffcut this on Colin Raye, and Daryl Franklin heard it, and he pitched it to him, and Colin liked it, and it went to the top of the charts.
Now, all of a sudden, they want to talk about the options, picking up the options on Danny Wells.
Thank the good Lord. So, but that little lick was, that little drum beat was.
Yeah.
I thought it was over. I thought I could move on, but I was wrong. I woke up last night calling your name and feeling the pain, baby. Thought I could quit you, but I still miss your love. What was I thinking? Thinking I could still walk down the street without you by my side and make it through one night alone. I said a lot of things I didn't really mean. How can I make you see what matters most to me, girl? I should have known it. I couldn't last a moment without you. You got every right to turn and walk away. I can't make you stay. I broke your heart, that's the bottom line. And I wasted so much precious time, baby. I see you with your friends, wearing a smile again. What was I thinking I could still walk down the street without you by my side and make it through one night alone? I lied, I said a lot of things I didn't really mean. How can I make you see what matters most to me, girl? I should have known it. I couldn't last a moment without you. Oh, baby. Thought I could quit you, but I still miss your love. What was I thinking? Thinking I could still walk down the street without you by my side, make it through one night alone. And then I said a lot of things I didn't really mean. How can I make you see what matters most to me, girl? I should have known it. I couldn't last a moment without
great song, a major hit for Colin Raye, is done by the songwriter Danny Wills. Thanks for being on our show today. Danny, first thing that I thought about when I first heard that song, although it has that beat, that groove you're talking about, Backstreet Boys, rhythm and blues, it had a throwback to some of the classic country. Like, first thing I thought about, where was the talk in songs anymore? Like
that was old Conway.
Conway came right to mind. Hello, darling.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Been a long time. And then throw this song. Yeah. Was that something you were conscious of when you were writing that song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Elvis did that stuff too.
He did. Yeah.
And Jeffrey and I were just kind of feeling it. He's such a great writer. We dug deep. That first day we were over at Alma Irving, and then the next time went over to his house and kind of finished it up, and it was a good one. Talking to his daughter the other day, she said that they get a lot of response, a lot of requests for that song, because Jeffrey's out, playing on the road and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just recently, I don't know, I played it and I started falling in love with it again because people just dig on the. It's one of those we were talking about earlier. Groove.
Yeah, and some well placed minor chords, in there, just in the right spots. It's just fantastic. So, by the way, you talk about Jeffrey being on the road. His lead guitar player, Stevie C, who's from Cleveland, is a great friend, and he laid all the guitar licks down on my project coming out after the first of the year.
You go Stevie C.
Stevie C's great. Isn't he a great guy? I think he's one of my favorite guitar players in this town. He's a pretty amazing dude. Yeah, man. So let me ask you the $1 billion question. You talked about then what the thing was. What do you think the next big trend is in music? In country music, let's say. Where's it heading?
I don't know, but I'll tell you, I think it's just going to be about lyrics that you can really hear and feel. Mm-hmm. I think, like, my new favorite guy is Bailey Zimmerman. Over at Warner, he is just breaking all kinds of records to begin with, because basically what labels want is they want you to be a star. And then they'll sign you. As opposed to the old time way of, hey, we see you have the talent, we're going to work with you, mold you, make you a household name. Right. When you have on Instagram and TikTok, and you have millions of followers or hundreds of thousands in the Facebook world or Instagram, but on TikTok, millions of followers, and they are already just listening to your song. They know every word. Bailey Zimmerman is amazing.
His songs, both.
They move me. His voice moves me. It's just amazing.
I've got to check him out. I'm not familiar. Bailey Zimmerman. Mm-hmm. Artist and writer.
Yes, he's on Warner.
He's on Warner Brothers.
And I think he just released his record, but it's...
Zimmerman, really? Zimmerman. Mm-hmm. You're not going to change his name to Dylan? Well, we'll check him out for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Danny, I've taken up so much of your time, but I could talk to you forever. It's been a fantastic conversation.
Oh man, I've really enjoyed it. I wish I could, meet all the people that were out there, talking to them, because I felt like I was talking to them as I'm talking to you. I love people, and hopefully I'll get to meet some of them being out on the road, because I started going down the artist road myself, and I'm recording some stuff. Yeah, I'm going to do some of my hits that I wrote for other people, and just do my own stuff as an artist, because I always love that, and I just love getting out and playing live for people.
Sherry's going to help you with publicity and promotions.
Yes. Splash Promotions, Splash Publicity.
Great stuff.
I just did Jimmy Bowen's TV show. Oh, wow. There was season 5. There were 12 of us artists, Buddy Jewell and John Barry, and
I love John. John was on this show. He was a great guy.
Awesome. Keith Anderson.
Oh man,
just saw him down in Florida. Great. Kim Williams wrote that song.
Did he really?
Yes. John Rich, Kim Williams, and
was it Jeffrey Steele?
No, no. Kim Williams.
Okay.
Yeah. And John Rich. And
Anthony Smith, maybe? No.
Keith Anderson.
Keith Anderson. That's it.
And let's see, who else is on the show? J.D. Shelburne.
Wow.
Ty Herndon. Joel Sonnier.
Oh, remember Joel, too. Wow.
Tyler Reese Tritt. Yeah, just
Great company.
But I look forward to so you guys check out my stuff. You know,
Find out where you're playing around town. Listening room coming up.
You
Bluebird.
can play in the Bluebird and the Listening Room in the middle of this month.
Two favorite places to play.
Yeah, and there's another place called McNamara's.
Love McNamara's. Turk's Place you're going to play in?
Turk's Place.
That's down the road. When are you doing that? I'll be there for sure.
I think the 15th.
15th of November?
15th of November.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we'll do that. So you guys be listening out. I'm be putting some stuff up on TikTok. And
good.
We're going to...
They're telling me you got to have a TikTok today.
Yeah, Hickory Dickory Dock and the mouse round up the clock and all of it. You know, but that'll be on TikTok.
Be on TikTok.
Check out my new stuff.
You did not write that song though, right? So we can find out where you're at your webpage, which is
Bands in Town would be a good.
Bands in Town. Also, but you've got a webpage as well, right? What did you say to go to? Instagram and Facebook?
At Danny Wells Official.
At Danny Wells Official.
On Instagram and Facebook.
Well, you've officially been on the Songwriter Connection podcast. Danny, I certainly appreciate it. Good to see you again.
It's great seeing you, Dave. It's a real pleasure. Thank you. It's been fun hanging out with you, brother.
Nice to chat with you.
Thank you for listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Find us on social media at Songwriter Connection. Also, listen to Dave Lanahan's Nashville Connections radio show. It streams live every Friday morning on WOBL and WNOI. Look for us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next time on Songwriter Connection.